Arrested Spencer Steer was good for 5 RBIs and getting the Reds a series win against the Cardinals yesterday. We're going to talk about the importance of rest on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff, his name is Steve, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and we want to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network out there. And on today's show, we are going to talk about why it's just time to beat them Cubbies, like playoffs or no, let's beat the Cubbies, yeah? That'll be later on in today's show. Coming up here in just a few minutes, I want to just dissect exactly how much blame to assess this season on Terry Francona, because it's not nothing, but it ain't as much as people are giving him. And that'll be coming up later on in just a few minutes here on today's podcast. But we will begin with rest. You know, that wonderful thing that we all love to have and how important it is during the MLB season. That's all on today's episode that is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. All right, Steve, Spencer Steer went off, and the Reds got that series dub over the Cardinals. End up still falling in the season series, but winning 2 out of 3, finishing up the road trip, a 9-game road trip with a 4-5 record. It was a very long slog, but at the end of the day, they didn't fall back as much as we were fearing after the A's series. However, they still lost ground in that playoff race. Now they come home for the Cubbies, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but Spencer Steer was the dude that led them to that win.
Spencer Steer had a very, very big day. And just real quick, I want to talk about your big day while I've got everybody here at the top of the show. If you missed it, folks, and you're a Bearcats fan, this guy just launched his own Bearcats show, Locked On Bearcats. You can follow it on the YouTubes, same like you follow us here. All the same stuff, only instead of Locked On Reds, Locked On Bearcats. Go check Jeff out. Give him subscribe over on the Bearcats YouTube channel. All right. Back to the Reds commentary, Jeff. But I'm proud of you, man. It's been a long time coming, you doing this show. So I'm excited for you. I'm also excited for Spencer Steer. He hasn't played a lot lately. Some of it has been because of nagging injuries. I guess we learned that he has had bones out of place and was saved, right? and chiropractors to the rescue and all of the things that we've been talking about in our group chat that Spencer Steer has been nursing that we didn't necessarily know about. But also he's had some extra time off to let Sal Stewart have some playing time. All of these things have added up to Spencer Steer looking really rested and comfortable in the field yesterday, at the plate yesterday. Cowboy even talked about it on the broadcast that Spencer Steer just looks rested. And what was the result of that? Well, let me tell you, he was 3 for 4 with a home run, 5 RBIs, a couple good defensive plays. Spencer Steer looked good. And it feeds into the overarching criticisms we've been throwing the Reds way of late because of how Elly De La Cruz has been handled. And what's good enough for one of the guys is good enough for all of the guys. And you can see the real dividends of giving Spencer Steer a little bit of rest. Now, I'm not saying set Elly De La Cruz down for a week or sit him down for multiple games. That ship has sailed. But we see here the value of rest and the value of being sharp and the value of being fresh. And it translated into a 3 for 5 RBI day for Spencer Steer. What could it have translated to for Elly De La Cruz? We'll never know because they never gave him a day off. They're getting the Elly De La Cruz 162 banner ready for Great American Ballpark. That unveiling is going to be lit next season. But I love Spencer Steer bouncing back here. He's taken some criticism this year, and I think some of it's been unfair. I think that we didn't allow for the fact that he was playing hurt for the beginning of the year and that his shoulder wasn't right and all of the impacts from a hurt shoulder. So, but he's bounced back nicely. And you look at where he's at right now, Jeff, you look at on the season, including the 3 for 5 day that he just delivered over his last 30 games, 263, 349, 474 with 5 home runs. That's not a bad month, Jeff. That is not a bad. That's a decent sample size of 30 games, that's a pretty decent performance for a guy that really struggled early on this season.
That's Spencer Steer. That's the guy that we were expecting. That's the guy, because I even said it yesterday while I was solo, like his whole season, when you take it all at once, he's not the mashed potatoes of the lineup. But those last 30 games are much more what we expect to see from Spencer Steer. I wonder about this, Steven. This is a bit of a curveball that I'll throw you this time when it comes to this subject. How much of that do you attribute him actually sticking to one spot? We talk about a lot of guys here when it comes to Major League Baseball nowadays, where it's like, would they like that routine? Would they prefer to know where they're playing each and every ball game? Spencer Steer told you a couple of years ago, whenever you talked to him on the show, he prefers to play everywhere and move around a whole bunch. Is he the opposite? Is he a guy that maybe was hamstrung by the fact that he didn't move around a bunch this year?
I don't think so. I think that more than anything else, Spencer Steer just wants to be on the field and he wants to play and he wants to do what's best for the team. That's how the left field thing happened. He just wanted to do what was best for the team. And it was either going to be Spencer Steer or David Bell playing left field at the time. So I think they made the right call. But I think this really, if you're really looking for what to attribute the fact that he's just 0.3 in WAR before today's game, if you're looking to what to attribute the fact that his OPS plus before today or yesterday's game is 88, if you're looking for what to blame the shoulder, blame the fact that the Reds didn't have the depth to put Spencer Steer on the injured list to start the season. And he instead came out basically swinging one-armed for the first month and a half of the season. That dug a hole in all of his counting stats that he's only now starting to dig back out of. He has an opportunity. You know, he could get his OPS plus back up to 100 to league average by the time the year is over. I don't know if he can get that WAR to at least 1. It might be too late. He needs another 0.7 in WAR. It could happen if he goes on a heater for the final 4 series of the season. But if you're looking for a culprit, if you're looking where to place the blame, I think that's where you place the blame. It's on him playing one-armed, trying to do the best he could for this team that was in desperate need of having somebody to put in the lineup.
And to your point, in those first 35 games this season, he had a slash line of 188, 265, 293. That's a 559 OPS. Santiago Espinal says, hey, bro, how you doing? When it comes to those types of statistics, although Spencer Steer only had 3 more home runs than Santiago Espinal still has all season long. But yeah, that was the struggle that he really went through early on this season. And it just never really felt like anybody else took over that, you know, if you need a consistent clutch bat in a moment during a game, that was Spencer Steer last couple of years. It wasn't him this year, and nobody else really took over that mantle. And I think that's been a big miss in the lineup so far this year, really, or not so far, during the entire year. So I hope that returns for him, or they find somebody like that next season. I will say this, though, parlaying into the point that we were making, though, with Elly, it's clear, and we can go over the stats. I mean, what is it, the last 80 ball games now, he has 1 home run. I think that's what it is. Or,
one more than me and you, Jeff.
Yeah,
one more home run than me and you combined.
It's either 80 or it's close to 80. It's a very large sample size at this point. But yes, you and me combined have 1 less home run than he does. And at the same time, even the slash line, like the on base, the batting average, everything like that is much lower than we expected. And we attribute that to how they managed his year. I just keep hearkening back to the point that we made a while ago. And that is that a few years back, Joey Votto made the statement that one of the biggest lessons he learned in his career was it's okay to take an off day. And who is anyone to question Joey Votto? They should really look at this next year and say, okay, every so often, let's just give Elly a complete day off so that he can completely unplug for a minute and recharge, because it's clear that has been the biggest need for him all season.
It really makes you begin to question how he's been handled this year, and if he's been handled differently than everybody else. And I think just at a surface level, you can look at it and say, yes, he has been handled differently than everybody else on the team. Is that good? Is that bad? How much blame falls on the shoulders of Tito Francona for how Elly has been handled? Or we're going to talk about that coming up next.
Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. I've been eyeing the different flavors that they have. I mean, the Transfusion 5-Hour Energy shot that we've been talking about here recently has been my favorite go-to, especially while the Reds were on the West Coast. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites that you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today.
Make sure you click that like button, click that notification bell, click that subscribe button here on YouTube. That way you get us each and every day, the Locked On Reds podcast, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. For the rest of this season, you also are going to get the postcast with Tim Daniel live after each and every Reds game, plus anything special we drop in the feed along the way. Click those buttons today. All right, Jeff, let's get back into this, because you look at guys like Spencer Steer. He got some rest. He got sat down some. He's been moved around the lineup all season long based on how he was performing. Tito was doing all of those things. And then you look at Elly De La Cruz, a guy that has been hurt and allowed to play through it, a guy that has underperformed but has not been moved in the lineup until recently, a guy that clearly was in need of a day off, that was allowed to go out there and start every single game because it's something he wanted. It's not what was best for the team. It's not what was best for the organization. It's what was best for Elly De La Cruz. It's what he wanted. So it seemingly, if you look at it just on the surface, is Tito Francona giving Elly special treatment based on what Elly's saying and what Elly wants. And I get it. He's been kind of propped up and pedestaled as the face of the franchise, the face of the team, a face of Major League Baseball. But I think what we're seeing from Elly right now, that one home run more than Santiago Espinal in the last 80 games, talks about Elly being tired. It talks about Elly being mentally fatigued, physically fatigued, banged up. His wheels haven't been right all year. We've seen it in the steals. And you look at all of those things, and you have to ask yourself, what is Tito doing here?
Yeah, it seems strange because there's a couple of different schools of thought. Like, obviously, Elly De La Cruz is the most important player on this team. And so if you want to really talk about, do you get preferential treatment when you're that good? Maybe, but he hasn't quite earned the whole superstar status yet. We continue to see that potential, and we continue to see that ceiling when it comes to Elly De La Cruz, but he has not reached that ceiling. And then you also have this other thought process that follows along that same lines of Terry Francona has managed a lot of superstars in his time, most notably, most recently, Jose Ramirez. So he understands how to get those guys there. The problem that I have with this is that we all see what is ailing Elly De La Cruz. You, me, those at home that are listening, watching, whatever they're doing. Jeff Brantley's talked about it on the broadcast. I've heard Chris Welsh on the radio talk about it. There's so many different people that are just like, he is tired. And for a moment, let's consider Elly's side of this. Elly has been dealing with a quad injury for some time now. It's been well reported that it's something that he suffered back in July, and he's been playing through it. Elly has also gone through the death of his sister this year, the death of a very close family member. And that's something that mentally will fatigue you. So why on earth did they maintain this plan that dude would not take a day off? In fact, to the point that time aided him, and time, more so Mother Nature, aided him in being able to play in all 162 because of the rain delay that pushed that one game back. He was going to miss that day. And so it just seems as though he has continued to go, almost to stay away from everything else that he's dealt with. And I think it is all caught up to him. And I think that we will learn at some point this offseason, he will say, man, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the right way to go about it. But it seems as though Terry Francona bringing it back to him, should have seen this like a month ago and said, you know what, we're setting you down.
Even sooner than that. I get the mindset of Elly. We need him in the lineup. He's one of our best. He's got to be out there. But you could have been strategic with this and decided Elly's not going to play all 162. Let's just say we're going to give Elly 158 games. As long as he's not injured to the point where he can't play, 158 games. So that's 4 games, Jeff. I'm only asking him to rest him 4 games. But you do it once in June when there's an off day the next day. You do it once in July when there's an off day the next day. You do it once in August when there's an off day the next day, and you do it once in September when there's an off day the next day. That's back-to-back days, a weekend off once a month in order for him to kind of recharge and unplug and clear his head and rest his body. That is not a big ask. That is an easy do for this Reds team, for this coaching staff.
Steve, are you crazy? That's the most sane thing that I've ever heard anybody say.
I think he'd be hitting home runs right now if they had done that, because he wouldn't be so out of it.
He was off for 2 days in 2024. And by all accounts, he's not going to miss a day this season. So you're going to go 2 straight seasons with 2 off days total. I really think they need to consider this next year because he has gotten worse. I think there's a chance he surpasses his hit total from last year. There's a small chance he surpasses his run total from last year. He's not passing his homer total from last year. He's certainly not even touching his stolen base total from last year. So it's crazy.
Yeah, let's look at his last 30 games, Jeff. His last 30 games, he's got a slash line of 210, 269, 323. During that time, he's stolen 4 bases. So basically 1 a week. So he's not running, he's not hitting for power, he's not hitting for average. His on-base percentage is below 300. What's Santiago Espinal's last 30 games? Do you have it in front of you? I'm just curious.
I can pull it up. It's not good. I can tell you that.
Pull up Santiago Espinal's last 30 games.
Yep.
Because I'm curious as to what the slash line looks like.
Thinking that is right here.
I know I put you on the spot, but I think this is going to illustrate a point.
And counting wrong. Okay. So Santiago Espinal's last 30 games, 224, 273, 245.
So Elly only gets him a little bit in slugging. Santiago has a better batting average and a better on-base percentage than Elly De La Cruz in the last 30 games.
But to your point, though, about just barely getting Santiago Espinal in slugging, Santiago Espinal has 1 double in the last 30 games. That is the only extra base hit that he has. So for Elly to barely be surpassing 1 double, that's pretty damning. And I think this all just goes back to where you place the blame, because I have noted a lot of different people that are just like, I'm done with Tito. We got to move on from Tito. I think that's very premature.
No. There's no hot seat here. There's no hot seat here, folks.
No hot seat whatsoever. First of all, just the logic behind that is, well, the Reds already fired their manager last year. There's a process that you go through that if the team is not performing, you fire the manager, then you make roster changes if firing the manager did not solve the problem. That's where the Reds are this offseason. But also, the blame here is more on Nick Krall. And while we see it, while the fans see it, the front or the owner's office is not going to see it that way, because the owner's office sees the bottom line and he is meeting the bottom line, period. But Nick Krall's roster that he put together was insufficient. Nick Krall's
I watched your solo yesterday where you made this case. I'll tell you this, you're absolutely right. Terry Francona was handed an imperfect team.
Yeah.
But there are things that Tito has done with this imperfect team that could have made it perform better had he done things differently, and he didn't do those things. Example, resting Elly. Example, not playing Santiago Espinal so much. Those type of things. So do I put some blame on Tito? I absolutely do.
Yes.
You're not wrong about what you're saying, but I put some blame on Tito. Now, there's going to be people in the comment section, because they were there last time we took a little indirect run at Terry Francona, that were like, Terry's won everywhere he's been, and who do you two basement dwelling podcasting people that live with your parents come off talking bad about Terry Francona? Well, first of all, neither one of us live with our parents or are in a basement. Well, Jeff's in the basement. That's
save us a lot of money on rent. Right. That'd be nice. But, yeah.
Like, you can question Terry Francona's decision making here without saying that you're completely out on Terry, without saying that you want him to be fired, without saying that you know more about baseball than Terry Francona. What I'm saying is his decisions over the last 4 months of this baseball season have had an impact on the standings. And when you just look at the data, when you look at the numbers, there are things that could have been done differently that would have resulted in wins for this team.
I think if you look at it between the front office and between the manager's office, the front office gets 67% of the blame and the manager's office gets 33% of the blame. I think that's how
I think go 60-40, but for easy's sake, but yes.
1/3, 2/3, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I know this. The Reds need to win in these next 4 games because they got the Cubbies coming to town, which means Mason's going to be down in Cincinnati in droves, and it's time for the Reds to go and just go beat them Cubbies.
Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether we're talking about 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's built for people with busy lives. I love Monarch Money. It lets me see exactly what I'm spending and where I'm spending. It's so easy these days to just tap that card and not have a clear picture of what you're spending. Jeff tried this thing, and you would not believe the amount of money he is spending at Jungle Gyms, just as an example. So if you want to get control of your finances, don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app because we are free and available on all platforms. Plus, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB feed. They are covering every game every night all the way through the World Series until a champion is crowned. So check them out. You can see everything going on around the league every day. All right, Steve, we got 4 against the Cubbies. No off day here. The Reds get right back to work tonight, and it's going to be a 4-gamer. It's going to decide the season series. Believe it or not, this is up in the air. The Reds could win the season series against the Chicago Cubs. Now, they're getting them at a time that the lineup is starting to get right for the Cubs. The Cubs have gone a long period of time where their lineup has been very will they or won't they, and a lot of it has stemmed from the fact that their 2 MVP candidates that the first half of the year were going crazy have really cooled off. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Kyle Tucker have not been the guys that they were early on. Now, Pete Crow Armstrong started to turn things around here this last week or so, but Kyle Tucker remains a very on-base, low-power guy, whereas early on in the season, dude was like a surefire MVP candidate. Both these guys were. And so now the Reds are going to get them coming to Cincinnati at a time where the Cubs really got to pick it up because they are shoo-ins for the playoffs. I don't think there's a chance that they could fall out of the race at all.
So the Cubs clinched yesterday.
Okay, so they
clinched the playoff spot. Which so to your point, the lineup is going, but here's the deal: the Cubs are 4.5 back of the Brewers right now. The Brewers are still doing Brewers things. I don't know that it's realistic or that the Cubs are actually expecting to catch the Brewers at this point. I wonder if the fact that they clinched yesterday, maybe they take their foot off the gas just a little bit. And this is a good time for the Reds to be catching them, where the Reds could kind of sneak in there, take 3 of 4, win the season series, and remain in the conversation for the final wild card spot.
We can only hope, but the good news is the Reds are throwing the A squad, the absolute A squad of starting pitchers against the Cubs. You got Greene, you got Lodolo, and then in the final game of the series on Sunday, you got not Ashcraft, you got Abbott. And then I wonder if you have Littell with a piggyback of Chase Burns. I think that would be a lot of fun on Saturday. But the point is that we've got a lot of fun pitching matchups coming here for the Redlegs against this Cubs lineup. So if you're right and they do take their foot off the gas a little bit, the Reds got a real shot here to take 3 out of 4. And obviously, if there's anybody out there that is still thinking that there's a chance of a hope of a possibility for the Reds to catch the Mets, you got to win 3 out of 4 at minimum.
Yeah,
ideally you sweep, but a 4-game sweep is super hard in Major League Baseball. But 3 out of 4 is the expectation.
Yeah, I agree with that. They win 3 out of 4, then we may have to revisit our, idea of what's possible for the Reds to do. I mean, right now they're tied with the Giants. They're a game back. Let's see. Let's go to the live standings right now. We
are trying our best, by the way, to get back to have them reel us back in. It's just we keep seeing the reality of what's going on.
They're tied with the Giants at 2.5 games back of the Mets. They are a half game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 2 games back of the Mets. It is possible. There is a chance, but
and as we record here on Wednesday evening, the Mets are losing, so there's that too.
So there is an opportunity, but 3 of 4, I think, is the key. I don't know that you can split this series and then head into what's remaining, a series with the Pirates, then a series with the Milwaukee, and be in a position to strike and take that spot. You really do need 3 of 4.
No, the Reds missed their opportunity to play 500 ball and get a playoff spot because the Mets were trying to. They were trying to hand this to the Reds because they were playing some real bad ball. But there was a 22-game stretch where the Reds went 5-17. Had they just gone 11-11, they would have been in that wild card spot. So it's really tough right now to see them going 500 in the final 10 games of the season and making the playoffs. They are going to have to, I say, so out of these 4, for sure, they got to go 3-1. But out of the final 10 games of the year, they are going to have to, I don't know, I'd say 8-2 at the minimum, very likely 9-1.
So what's left? There's 4 games with the Cubs. There's 3 games with the Pirates, 3 games with the Brewers. Is that correct? Is that what we're down to? So you have to win 3 of 4 against the Cubs. You have to win 2 of 3 against the Pirates, and you have to win 2 of 3 against Milwaukee. And somewhere in there, you have to hope to have pulled off a sweep. Either you sweep the Pirates or the Brewers take a weekend off as they're getting ready to head into the playoffs, and you sweep them on the road. You got to steal an extra win in there somewhere. But the minimum, the bare minimum that the Reds have to do, that's it. 3 of 4, 2 of 3, 2 of 3, or else there's really not much hope of them pulling this out.
It really kind of feels like they're standing at the plate and there's a full count right now. They've got to at least keep fouling the ball off, and they definitely got to put the ball in play at some point if they're going to get there. And then kind of when you look on the Cubs side of things right now, like their pitching really has been pretty decent. I mean, they just beat the Pirates and they still allowed 4 runs to a Pirates team that's kind of been bad as far as the lineup goes. But I still wonder about that bullpen because the Cubs have a pretty decent bullpen. It's just what can you do against their starting pitching? And the Reds just seemingly haven't been able to solve the young guys that the Cubs have been throwing out there. So what version of the Reds lineup shows up? Are we going to see Elly back in the 3 spot? I'm kind of okay leaving him down in the bottom third of the order if they're not going to sit him. And so who is that top third of the order now? Like, that might be our topic for tomorrow's episode. Like, what is the ideal lineup for the Reds moving forward if we don't expect Elly to get a day off? So maybe check us out tomorrow where we give you that one.
Right, because interesting things. Yesterday they had Will Benson batting third. So who knows what they're doing at the top of the lineup right now.
Miguel Andujar's been batting third. I mean, you've had Sal Stewart in the cleanup spot. Like, there's a little bit of this that I almost wonder if Tito, it's not a heat check. It's Tito is telling the front office, we don't have our best version of the lineup as we go into the offseason. Give me some help. I think that's
I hope that Nick Krall's paying attention, because I'm going to be so frustrated, Jeff, if we get to the end of the season and they miss by like 1 game, because how much focus are we going to putting on that list of those games that we made, of the games that they should have won, the games that they had in hand in blue, though that list, it's looming over there. I have it on a sticky note right over here on my desk, and it's just flashing at me. Like, when we do that episode, we're going to have a nice tasty beverage in our glasses. I think we just might want to. Yeah. And on that note, that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you being here, everydayers. We can't tell you enough how grateful we are for all of the time you spend listening to Jeff and I talk a little bit of Cincinnati Reds baseball. Make sure you check out Tim Daniel on the Reds postcast after each and every one of the remaining Reds games this year. Tim has done a great job with the postcast. I've really been enjoying his instant reaction. I hope you guys have been checking checking it out as well. Also, go check out the Locked On MLB feed. You get Sully with a national perspective, a great sense of humor. He talks about the Reds a lot. I think he's a closet Reds fan. He says Red Sox to cover, but I think he's a closet Reds fan. And then you've also get the Locked On MLB game night, where they're watching each game each night so that you don't have to, and they're keeping you up to date using the experts from the entirety of the Locked On Reds network. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow, breaking down, hopefully, a win against those Cubbies. Until next time, we'll gather up the news, the notes, the information, the rumors, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds each and every day.
You know, scuttlebutt around the old Locked On water cooler is that Tim's got the best postcast.
I heard that there was a rating system that he was winning.
I don't know if that has anything to do with The Bachelor. I'll have to double check.